Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the president and CEO of GST Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also EVA.ai. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. So with that, on Top Global Startups today, we have an incredible guest, Chris Hodgson, who is the co-CEO and founder of OBT Live. Chris and his team are redefining customer engagement by blending live ops, AI, and behavioral science to create hyper-personalized experience that deepen loyalty, reduce churn, and drive measurable growth. With decades of experience in business strategy and technology, Chris is at the forefront of using AI not just for automation, but to make customer relationships more human and meaningful. Oh, I love that as a humanistic psychologist, speaking the kind of words that we like. We'll explore how brands can build loyalty beyond points, harness gamification, and create moments that truly matter. With that, I'd like to bring him on board. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Gary. How are you?
Good. So what was the inspiration behind founding OBT Live? And how did you see a gap in the market for AI-powered human-driven engagement?
Sure. Well, my business partner and I, we've kind of been around the block. We've worked in tech for a long time. We used to run a sort of large mid-market digital transformation partner, and we did an awful lot of data and ML at the time. So we kind of saw the power of what the technology was becoming and what it could do. And after we sold that business and went into various roles in advisory, we could just see this gap in the market where, you know, there was data, ML, now AI, and we had all these amazing tools and not always amazingly implemented. And yet customer experience and how we treat our customers was just not keeping up with the level of technology. So we wanted to do something where we could blend the most incredible new technology, but with human psychology, with humans in the loop, where we can actually create something special for users. And that was the birth of OBT Live.
So, you know, live ops is often associated with gaming. How are you bringing it into sectors like retail, media, leisure, and sports?
So it's amazing what the guys in gaming have done. You know, live ops is old hat to them. They've done this for absolute years. You know, they were forced into it back in the kind of early 2010s, where it was just too expensive to keep shipping software. It had to go online. It had to be mobile. And they needed to be able to change and evolve very, very quickly, test new things with A/B testing, put new features out, change the experience for their users. And live ops was born out of that. And I find it incredible that it's so prevalent in gaming. It hasn't been. I mean, that's fantastic for us, but hasn't been in the wider sort of technology markets and into the wider market. So that, you know, if you think about customer experience now, people want. They want it right now. They want to experience it right now. They want it to be bespoke to them. They want to enjoy the relevant information, not have to search. And live ops, and then, you know, you back out with data and AI. It gives you this opportunity to create something really, really special. So we're taking a methodology that is absolutely proven. We're taking technologies that, yes, are very new, but are based on proven technologies and are growing by the second, and then just moving it into a new market, really.
You know, it's interesting because in 2016, we started one of the first generative AI companies. So that company was called Finder, which became Eva. And I was talking about AI, I remember, on stage in San Francisco. and thousands of people were watching. I remember one person said to me, "This isn't going to happen for 25 years." And I said, "You don't understand. It's going to happen so fast. If you don't do it, you're going to be behind." And in 2020, I wrote one of the first articles in GPT-3. And people said also that's not going to happen. And it's changed. Everything changes. It's not like it does. If you don't have hyper personalized experiences that are direct to you and they have empathy and compassion like your grandmother, you aren't going to do it. You know what I mean? This day of these cold models that don't really relate to us and help us, we want these agents to be able to care about us and think about our future, right? And to help us more in a tandem in a relationship.
Totally agree. And I think there's a really interesting mix at the moment, because obviously AI is growing exponentially at the moment, and GPT-5 just came out last week, and the capabilities are getting there. But I also think there's a kind of a counter side to it in the human side, where people are almost getting bored of being nudged constantly, of poorly implemented AI, from whether it's their feed on the reels or whether it's their constant advert, being approached on LinkedIn with messages that have got no relevance to me.
Well, that's it. And what is that? So, Chris, let's label that, right? From my own background, I say it's infobesity. And the problem is where we're using, dumb AI to be able to do things that are not going to help us. It's going to inundate us.
It is going to inundate us. And it's so frustrating because the user experience is terrible. And it's also, for people who work in the market, they're sat there going, that's just lazy. Why? The tools are there, the technology is there. Why are you not doing this properly? And I think that's where the mix of using the technology as a tool, there's things that we cannot do in terms of the power, the timing, the scale, only AI can do already. But the understanding what drives humans, what behaviors we want to drive, how we want to feel and experience, that can come from us. And then we use the tools to explode out on a much greater level. I think if we get the combination right, then people are not anti-AI, they're not just for AI. They want an amazing experience, and frankly, they don't care how it's created. And if we create something special between it, then that's going to fill the market. That's going to drive that loyalty. It's going to drive that consumer need for everything right now in a really convenient way, and grow loyalty and ultimately grow revenue.
Personalized. I wrote this article. I said, if we take Skinnerian psychology, operant condition, and combine it with Rogerian psychology, which is client-centered therapy, right, and develop a humanistic but focused, targeted approach and reinforce it with tokens, we can dramatically change our models. We can radically change the interactions. We can make it more human-like, but not just human-like. Listen, humans don't do good things to people sometimes, each other, right? So what if we go down through and do it in the right way? Add these models that are doing the right thing, right? Whatever we believe is right, to bring goodness. By the way, I spoke at the UN about this, so I got a chance to address the United Nations. And it's kind of like Forrest Gump. There just happened to be somebody that wasn't available, and they asked me to come in, and I did. And they wanted me to talk about AR and VR to combat violent extremism and terrorism. And honestly, Chris, I said, I can't do it. Like, it's just, I'm not going to do that. So I got up, and here you are in front of the UN, and I said, let's talk about technology as a tool for peace. And I talked about that, tokenizing goodness, because you're right on target. If we use these models to be able to help us, by the way, it's going to help us buy more things because it's for you, and it's kind of like your grandmother that cares about you. It's got those warm arms around you and hugs you and cares about you to help you make the right decisions.
I think it's got to come all the way through as well. I mean, look, the open AIs, the X's of the world, they've got a major influence over the ethical side of AI. But we're a startup from northwest England, but we've based everything on ethical AI. The way we build it, the way we train it, the way it understands information. Why does it need to have this information if it doesn't need to? And I think it's really, really important. I think there's straight off topic here, but I think it's really important that every business who is going to be in AI and utilize AI really does start to think about this, has their own stance on it, applies real ethics to it. I think that's the only way it goes. This can't just be something that Apple and OpenAI impose. Everyone is responsible for it.
So what I think is, because we had engineers developing this and not people that are humanistic psychologists, we took a different slant on it because we took a very pragmatic approach to building the AI. And I'm not saying it's wrong to get technology ahead, but I'm saying the next level up is put a humanistic slant to this thing so that it's doing the goodness of, unconditional love and, that kind of thing, where it literally cares about you.
Hmm.
Right? And whatever caring is in your culture, and it knows what's right in that culture. And so anyhow, I know I've been saying this a long time. I've been building, this generative AI since 2016, right? You can see it in TechCrunch, and we raised $7 million in less than 3 months, and we were talking about it then, right? People said, "Oh, this is going to happen." Well, they were wrong, right? It's here, and I sold out too early. Because shit happens. Anyhow, so how does Engage AI work in practice to deliver real-time personalized interactions? And could you walk us through a real client use case?
Sure. So I think we focus mainly in sort of retail, leisure, sports, and media. But let's be honest, we can work with anyone who has a digital interaction with their customers, which is pretty much everyone. If I stick to retail, for instance, there's the obvious ones around how we create an experience, whether that's an augmented one through them walking into the store or shopping online, or maybe a less obvious one. We've done a lot of work recently on things like returns. There's a huge problem, certainly in the UK. I think it's the same in the US, with online retailers where culture's changed. People order 15 dresses and maybe keep one or keep none, take a photo, put it on Instagram and send it back. And so there's the kind of CFO approach to that, which is, right, we'll make everyone pay for returns. And then all of a sudden your experience takes a bit of a nosedive because now a lot of people are being penalized. Or there's the, right, we're going to continue to get beaten up and this is costing us millions and millions to the bottom line. So, that is something that very, very easily we can start to influence the behavior. We can understand who the people are. That's fairly basic in terms of ML, right? In terms of understanding who those people are. But we can start to encourage them to behave in a different way. Instead of just doing a photo and can we start to do some socials together where you reward, if you're going to put a picture on Instagram of you in that dress, why can't we get you some social credits for it? That start to go towards that pay for your next return.
That's the tokenization I'm talking about, right? That's so. And drive not only the people, but the behavior of the agents, train the agents like that too, right? So everybody's marching in the same way to be able to do whatever's right.
It is exactly that. And, in a more traditional sense, if you think about, when we first started, we get branded as a loyalty program. We're not a loyalty program. Yes, we can do loyalty. We generally augment loyalty programs rather than replace them. But it's interesting, especially in retail, because you've got retail, one of the first industries to adopt loyalty at a grand scale. But, as we found in Britain with the railways, just because you're first doesn't mean you don't have to reinvent yourself constantly. So, loyalty has been left behind in retail, in my view. I think everyone's like, well, yeah, we got that. We give you points. We give you a badge. What more do you want? And it's like, well, that, getting special offers.
That's not really anything, right?
Exactly. Getting special offers on something I bought once or never at all doesn't really appeal to me. Buying a coffee and getting 15 emails and 4 push notifications, that puts me off. I don't want just an AI nudge. But if it's done in the right way, where I feel like I'm part of that community, I feel like they understand what I like, not just the products I buy, who I talk to, how I socialize, how I like to be approached, then I want to be a part of that brand. I want to champion that brand. I want to talk about it with my other people. So that's real loyalty. That's going to, and if it's easy, again, going back to, our culture is all about ease. Doesn't say an awful lot for the human race, but it is. And if it's easy to conduct business with them, it's easy to transact. It's easy for me to consume what I want in the way I want from that brand. Then I want to do that. I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to tell my friends about that. And that's that's understanding them. It's understanding, taking it right the way back to the business objectives. These are businesses, not charities. What are they trying to achieve? And then we translate that into some behaviors that we want the users to conduct in. Don't send the dress back. Buy the extra cup of coffee. Tell your friends. Put something on social, whatever that might be. And once we channel those back to the KPI, then we can start to develop those behaviors and we can layer on different techniques, whether that is points or missions or challenges or feeding back into the community. We can use AI to really understand what they are, track all that telemetry, take all that data, take other social other feeds to shape that experience. The beauty of what AI allows us to do in this part is loyalty, and a lot of experiences have always been retrospective. It's like, right, well, this happened 3 months ago. Let's analyze it. Let's talk about it. Let's try and do a marketing case in the future. Whereas now we can take action in real time. We set the parameters, we set the type of behaviors, and we allow, the human has now set the experience it wants. The AI can go and do the work. So it's not when they come back in 3 months, it's while they're still in the shop.
No, I think you're right. And, the one thing, we talk about loyalty, right? But again, I'm going back to the thing of caring, right? Because if you look at the brands like Walmart when it came out on the US side, we look at Costco. The reason people would shop there is because they know they would care. It's not just about taking the goods back. The people really cared about you. You know what I mean? They cared about your shopping experience, et cetera. And people felt the warm and fuzzies, I don't know, love something, but care.
And it pulls all the way through, right? So if you're going to invest all that money into the way those two brands, who I agree with, they invest heavily in the customer experience, right? The way in which the people on the shop floor will talk to you is very, very different to other brands. But can you imagine if you combine that? Not, when we talk about creating these experiences, it's not just in the app, in the website. It's when they're in the store. If we're now giving those people who are already trained to give this amazing customer experience to know that I'm Chris when I walk through the door, and this is what I like, and I like these brands, but I don't like those brands. That information being available to them straight away, that just takes it to a whole nother level. So it's building upon. It's not just to replace what some of these guys have done amazing work with. There's been a lot of work on just the human service element, the CX element, and then there's obviously loads on technology. And I just don't feel like as an industry we've been able to bring these things together. Marketing doesn't sort to technology, and technology doesn't sort to service. Let's bring these together. Let's make a really holistic experience for our customers.
The role of hyper-personalization is not just in driving sales, but it makes customers feel valued and understood. And really, one of the things, I talked about predictive insights back in 2016, but really it's anticipating their needs before they arise, right? That's what your grandmother, my grandmothers, right? They understood the kind of things I wanted because they had experience and could help me, right?
Yep.
And so those kind of things build into the model. And then we talk about loyalty and retention. They're not just transactional, Chris. They're about emotional connection. What helps customers come back, right? They come back because they understand that you've developed some type of connection to them. They care about you. And then, the kind of things that, so beyond KPIs like churn and conversion, do you track metrics around emotional engagement or customer sentiment?
We do, and so obviously I know you'd be interested in this. So we base all of the behavioral science is based on the Octalysis framework. From Yukai Zhao, amazing guy. Same kind of thing that Tesla uses, Microsoft they use internally, eBay have used in the past, and it's about breaking those behaviors down. So yes, you've got those kind of business level churn, the things that go to the bottom line. But there's a lot done around, certainly when you go into the community type drivers, it's about sentiments. I mean, again, AI, like nothing else, can analyze sentiment, can understand what's the meaning behind the words or how they're feeling, and try to enact on that. Are they sharing information in a joyful way? Or are they sharing information because they've had a bad experience? Are they dropping out onto WhatsApp to go and give you a load of grief, or are they going on X? Or all of this kind of understanding, we can build a real picture about, right, how's Chris feeling? How's Gary feeling? Right, what made him feel good or bad? Do we want to replicate that? Do we want to expand on that? Where's the other Garys in the world? How can we work with those? So, completely different picture. I mean, the ability to track telemetry, and I don't just mean clicks or buys. I mean the whole experience. What have they done? How have I done it? How often do I go into the shop? Where's the first aisle I go to in the shop? Or equivalents in the other industries. I can really build a picture around me. From the more I build that picture, the more I can bespoke that experience for them. And again, it's humans, what they want to feel loved, right? They want to feel like it's for me. I'm the only guy in the world that this is important to Costco or Walmart. I want to feel like that, and I should. That we got the technology, we got the ability to do it. Why don't we do it?
Well, and we're not, and here's the thing is, right? Compassion, Chris, also means respecting boundaries. So we need to use data responsibly to avoid manipulation. So, how do you balance persuasive engagement techniques like gamification with the responsibility to treat customers fairly and compassionately?
And this goes back to the ethics. That before we'd even started writing any code, we'd done a huge amount of work, months worth of work. I'm sure much to the upset of our investors, months of work on getting our ethical standards put in place. And I think there's the ethical reason we've done this, and then there's also just the cold right commercial side of it. I really think that there is going to be a rejection of cold nudging, and just this constant bombardment of people.
I think it's already there, because think about this, Chris. In your own personal cloud, you got about 300,000 items. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. You have more information in personal cloud than the entire web. The problem is Chris's world is following the same trajectory, but that'll mean doubling every year. Within 5 years with IT, you're going to have 10 million items. Chris, you're a smart guy, but how many times the last 2 weeks yourself have you had a situation where somebody says, "Hey, Chris, did you get my message, your email? Where did I send it 2 days ago? Let me check. I can't find it." You didn't even look anymore, right? I don't look. I just say send it again, because I know I got thousands of emails now, right? And I don't know which one is which anymore.
Right? We're all building AIs to make sure we can get our email sorted as well now. So, although there are some cool tools on that. So I think the ethics are really, really important. And I think that you need to align to your brand that you're working with on that one. I think that the telemetry and understanding of what people are doing and trying to map those against the psychological drivers. So again, going back to what catalysis, it's, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's broken down into kind of white hat, black hat, and how you want to affect that. Now, we have our own way of who we want to work with. There are certain brands or certain industries that will only go black hat. That's cool for them. That's not for us. I think it's really important that we want to drive an experience that's right for the customer. I want to create an experience where they get access to the information or the products or the services that they're going to want and enjoy, not the thing that I can trick them into doing. I think there's a dark side to technology as well. So I think it comes back to, right, what is it you're trying to drive? Why are you trying to drive it? What information do we need? Therefore, we don't need this other information. And how do we want to emphasize that rather, it's not a manipulation.
I like to say that empathy gives us a competitive advantage. So, in this area, in this era of automation, these brands that demonstrate authentic empathy will win, just like you said, customer loyalty way faster. So how do you see empathy as the next big differentiator in customer engagement? And is it just as important as the technology itself?
Yes, completely. Again, the technology is outpacing us, but the people have got onto the whole, I know I've said it multiple times already, this kind of nudging bombardment type thing, and they're smart enough to read to read through, right, this has been auto-generated, this is not for me, this is just, I've been on a database somewhere, this is nothing to do with me. And I think that swell will get even more. I think people will push back and push back and push back, and unless something feels genuine. And let's be honest, some of it will be AI generated, it will be identified to AI, but if it's not a genuine intent, if it's not come with the right intentions, and again, these are businesses, they want to make money, they're not a charity, but they're genuinely trying to place the right product, the right service, the right experience in front of somebody, I think people will see through it. And I actually think that the cost of being nefarious or not being genuine, shall we say, is actually going to be accelerated over the next few years, because it will really, really become apparent to people. And I think there will be a big rejection of people who aren't genuinely trying to do something good for their clientele, whilst of course trying to make some money. So I think it's going to be an interesting next few years on this. I think it's going to, what is loyalty today or experience today? I think people will be looking at that thinking it's very Stone Age in a few years' time, and I don't mean 10 years. I mean a year, 2 years. So, it's the pace of this growing All the technology is there, all the ability is there. It's an adoption thing now. So, but I think from the human element, if we don't keep the humans in a loop, if we don't keep making sure this is focused back on driving the right behaviors for the right reasons, then there'll be a big rejection of it.
No, I agree with you. And I've been writing about this for a long time. I've been talking about it. With these agents, we better be careful. We just don't have pragmatic models, because nothing good's going to happen. By the way, if you don't put some empathy and compassion in these models, and especially when we take a quantum computer that can be 100 million times faster than the fastest supercomputer, which means what would take 10,000 years takes us right now. These are real statistics, 200 seconds. By the way, the questions that I just went down through with you, I have continuously sensing multi-agent model that's listening to our conversation, not recording it, but listening, and actually coming back in an empathetic way with the questions I just went down through with you. Just so you know, I actually have it here with me, because I look at it as kind of like one of my best friends, actually, that cares about me. And by the way, it just came back and it said to me, ask Chris this. It says, Chris, what's your first big wow moment in your career?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've had a few, to be honest. I think nothing to do with what we do right now, but I think in my last business, we were, when we were going through the lockdowns, the COVID, and it was obviously a very, very strange time. And we, in the UK and certainly in the US and a lot of countries, there was this overnight thing. It was like, right, everything's shut. Everyone's got to go home. You've got to work. But you can't be here. And a lot of companies just weren't anywhere near it. A lot of industries weren't ready for that. And we were a very big Microsoft partner, and they literally come to us and went, right, we've got this kind of AVD, the latest flavor of virtual desktop. It's brand new. No one's selling it in the UK. We think this could work. What can you do? And we established a team in-house. We had like 700 people, but we got a small crack team, pizza-sized team, 2 pizza team, 8 people. And literally within 4 days, they built a product, they tested it, they'd automated it, they personalized it for 4 of our key industries at the time, and they'd marketed it, and it had gone out 4 days. It was unbelievable. And I'd love to say I was a part of that. I was sat there going, right, here's the challenge. I'm the guy with the pizzas. It was 8 guys with eight people with massive brains and a huge amount of ability. But to watch them work a problem and actually say, right, okay, we're going to do this. If we don't do this, these people cannot work and they're going to get furloughed. And frankly, that wasn't our problem. But you go back to empathy. It was that's going to have a massive impact on these people. It's going to have a massive impact on the business, on all sorts. So it was a great opportunity for us, but it's also, we've got to go and do this, guys. And look, I'm not trying to compare these guys to the people in the health service and the real heroes, but for someone in IT, it was really, really cool. And that was definitely a wow moment for me to go, wow, what a team, what an amazing way of doing it. And this is really cool. I'm glad I work here. I'm glad I work in tech, So, but yeah, I love working in tech because you get a lot of them. Since we've only started OBT Live in end of 2023. We started as a services business. We migrated into being a software-led services, software-enabled services, and what we've achieved with a relatively small, very small team with AI, with technologies, and now we're in with some of the biggest brands in the world, and we're impact already. And it's like, wow, you couldn't have done this at any other time in history within tech. Within tech.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
So just ask me another question for you. It says, coffee, tea, or a pint for those long brainstorming sessions?
Let's be honest, it's a pint, isn't it? You're most creative with maybe that's just me being a Northern Englishman, but yeah, there's the brainstorming sessions. They generally have pizza and beer knocking around, I'd say.
So if you could have dinner with any innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
That's a good one. I'm probably going to be a bit boring and say Steve Jobs. Purely, I don't even know if I'd like him. I've read a lot about him. I've read his book, the book, some of the biographies around him. But his kind of the vision, the kind of myopic vision, this is going to happen. It has to happen, and we have to do it in this way. If we don't do it in this way, we are failing our customers. We're failing our customers. We're failing our people. We're failing everything. It's fascinating. There's loads of different people in tech or across the world that I'd really love to meet and just listen to. But as I say, I'm not sure whether I'd like him, whether we'd get on. But I just think that pure will, that pure stubbornness, I suppose, that this is going to happen, or we have failed everyone. It fascinates me. I'd really love to listen to him talk.
I met him. He would come into the Stanford Shopping Center and pick up spaghetti. But I also I know Wozniak. I've met him a few times, and Daniel Kotke, who was one of the first Apple employee, was actually besides Woz and Steve and Ron, the original marketing guy, actually was on my podcast. So if you want to hear some stories about Steve Jobs, I asked them directly.
Oh, awesome!
I have some. I'm not going to tell you all this stuff on air, but I get.
No. We'll go for one of them pints.
We'll have one of those pints.
Yeah.
Okay, so a trend in customer engagement you think is overhyped?
Sorry, customer engagement is over.
Yeah, so a trend that's in customer engagement, a current trend in customer engagement, do you think is overhyped?
I just feel like things are half baked, and you go back to this kind of nudging, or I run a business that is in gamification, and I can't stand the word gamification, which it raises a few eyebrows, because it even in me invokes like negative connotations. It's kind of
about betting, and it's like bullshit stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like someone's giving me a badge. Who cares? That kind of points thing, and I think that's because of a few reasons, but the key ones back when gamification was first started to be implemented outside of games. It wasn't linked to anything business wise, so it didn't really have a need. It wasn't driven back to a business game, and it didn't think about the behaviors. It thought about a kind of, right, well, we want them to do that. Well, why? Why do we want behaviors? Why do we want this? So I think that old school gamification, I think that's a bad trend that needs to go away. And there's a reason we talk about experiences and not gamification. I can't stand the word because it is a very different thing. And I think the other thing is this kind of constant nudging. It's like, right, we'll go and share this on your socials. Why? Because it's good that we have socials. Yeah, why? What is it you're trying to drive? What do you want? Do you want to create a community? Do you want people to understand the experience you've had, or do you just want your brand to pop up? Or I don't really know. It's like, well, no. Think about it. Think about why you want to do that. Think about why you want to get people to feel like they should share that, and what do you want them to say, and how do you want them to feel when they're saying it? And so that kind of sorry, a long-winded answer, but that kind of tick box of like, we got them to use AI, or we got them to share on our socials. Like, who cares? Like, go back to why. How are you making them feel? Why should they? And I think if we get back to that, and for the brands who do get that, it's phenomenal. They're hugely successful.
By the way, the my multi-agent system just told me to tell Chris we should call it reward-driven interactions.
Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah.
See, I love this stuff. I got to tell you,
even the AI doesn't like gamification anymore. There you go. So yeah, experience. Yeah, that
reward-driven interactions. I'll send it over to you. So it says one piece of advice you'd give your younger self before starting your entrepreneurial journey.
Oh wow! Get more sales guys. Get more sales guys. Yeah, I would like. Yeah, it's. I think. I mean, I've come from an ops background, so I'm fairly pragmatic. I can see glasses half empty, but I can also see it glass full. And it never, no plan survives first contact, as they say. So I think the dose of salt, as we'd say in the UK, or the dose of reality you apply to any plan, quadruple it, and then kind of go from there. But the other thing I'd say I'd reinforce maybe is that kind of that drive that, you know, don't get distracted when you sat there thinking this is something that can do really good. This is a really good idea. This will be amazing for your customers. Stick to your guns, because it's really, really easy to dilute it, change it, tweak it. And then I've seen so many people get 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, and they don't even know why they're doing it. They don't know what the business is for. They don't know what it stands for. And I think it's incredibly sad when a perfectly good idea or a really great idea just gets washed away because it's easier. You've just got to stick that. I suppose that goes back to the why I'm interested in Steve Jobs. That kind of, you've got to stick to it. You stick to your guns, be myopic, go for it. But just have a big lot of reality in terms of how quickly you'll get there.
Yeah, no, I got it. We're coming up to the top of the show, Chris, and if you want to stay on after the show for a few minutes, we can talk. So closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
We're doing some really, really cool stuff in retail, and I know obviously I would say that, but we're doing some cool stuff in the market. We I think you can feel the enthusiasm. We're genuine that we want to create these experiences. We want to and just really create an amazing brand with our clients. So it's exciting. We're here. We're doing some really, really cool stuff, and we'd love to talk to you about it. It might not be in what you traditionally think in loyalty or gamification or whatever. As I said, we're addressing multi-million problems around returns in retail. So let's have a conversation. We're OBT.live, and I'm Chris. Give me a shout, and we'll go from there.
And what's the best way to get a hold of you? LinkedIn?
For me, LinkedIn, or may go for it on my email. It's chris@obt.group. And I'll be happy to have a chat with you.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And thanks to all of you for joining one more time. GST presents Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back again soon with another exciting edition. Thanks, everybody, and have a nice rest of the day.